Yeah, but before we talk to Kevin Estrella, I want to say hello to everybody. And oh, it actually says we're still in preview mode. Now it says we're live. Oh, you biscuit eater. Okay. All right, I'm going to do that one more time then. Swear YouTube, I love you so much. All right, one more time on the intro. So good. Alright, that is called On Dragon's Wings, and that is by Kevin Estrella, and he is our guest today. Before we get into that and talk to Kevin, let me say hello. I'm Kat Udero, psychic empath and psychic wrangler. So today I've wrangled in three amazing individuals that we are all going to meet collectively here. And if this is your first time to Third Eye Salon, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're a repeat offender, we are so happy you've come back to be with us. And in each and every show, we take a fresh look between the veils of reality and a deep look between those veils. Today we're looking at Between the Veils of Kevin Estrella's relationship with the Zeta Greys known as the Contactee. Very specific, not the Greys you usually think of. Different. And we've had the Ponte on our show, as it were, via Ponte ambassadors on occasion. And today we're just coming back to talk to Kevin about how his relationship with them has inspired his new album, Cosmic Angels. But before we talk about that, let's say hello to the co-hostess with the mostest, my bestie, psychic and conscious business coach, Linda Coulter-Burge. Hello, Linda. I love you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hi, everybody. I'm so grateful that you've decided to join us on this beautiful Sunday morning, Mother's Day. Thank you for bringing so much to our group. And as always, I'll be your live chat host. So my policy, again, as a reminder for those new people that don't know, play nice or get out. So I'm pretty strict about that. I love conversation, though. Let's have lots and lots of questions today. All those questions you didn't get to ask Kevin the first time, ask him today, and I will get it in the conversation, okay? Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can see this great content and learn about our channel. Speaking of which, also make sure that you know we have a podcast on Apple and on Spotify, so check us out there. For those of you who've donated to help Third Eye grow, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We appreciate all of you, every single one, whether you can donate or not. And if you can, it does help, so thank you. Join our Facebook group. If you have not, I want to make sure that you know we have a Facebook group called Third Eye Salon. The conversations continue there, and it's a really supportive network. Thank you again. And Kevin, I'm so excited to have you back. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Lots of cool things to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been probably like a year and a half since we had Kevin on. He was our very first live streamer. Our very first show that we ever did a live stream with, it was with Kevin. So I feel it's kind of a little full circle action here today. And before we get into that conversation, I also want to make sure we say hello to Jason. Jason is a psychic medium. He's a sweetheart, and he also channels, artistically channels your ET guides and your ET and or star family. It's something that he just has picked up and has done quite naturally. It creates incredible portraits. You'll see those behind him, as well as his gift to his mother today, that painting to his left. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Always a pleasure to be here. And happy Mother's Day to everybody watching. Animal parents, pet parents, everybody. Happy Mother's Day.
And what is that painting that you have on your left there, or on your my left? Maybe you're right, but that one of the green. Yes, tell us about that, just because it is Mother's Day.
So it's a hydrangea plant. So if you're from the South, we have hydrangeas. So they're my favorite flower because it reminds me of my grandmother. And so I thought it was a nice way to kind of incorporate my grandmother in my mom's gift. It just hit me yesterday at like 4:00. I was like, let me go grab some paint and see what I have. So in the moment. But yeah, it's her Mother's Day gift.
It's very sweet. Like a good Southern boy, you painted your mother. It's something very special. It's always that special relationship. I love it. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into Mr. Kevin's bio so we can dig into this conversation. So Kevin is the guitarist and composer of the instrumental rock band Pyramids on Mars, and we do have his links down below. Hard rock, industrial, and metal infused with lead guitar melodies inspired by violin melodies of Baroque classical composers Bach and Vivaldi. Kevin's latest album, Cosmic Angels, is inspired by his visitations with extraterrestrials. The album's title and elements in the album incorporate many things that have been taught to him by these otherworldly visitors. Kevin has been a guest on over 60 UFO radio talk shows describing his UFO and ongoing extraterrestrial experiences. He's also the host of Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio on the ArtistFirst network. Kevin has always had a passion for UFOs and extraterrestrials. He spent over 20 years researching to understand why they are here. Kevin wanted to combine his passion of music with raising consciousness and awareness of the UFO and extraterrestrial presence. He felt it was always his purpose in life. This calling was affirmed on August 21st, 2014, when he had contact with an interdimensional craft of unearthly origin. Since then, Kevin began experiencing many other related incidents like incredible synchronicities, music downloads, symbol downloads through dreams, and increased telepathy. His musical downloads are discussed in UFO researcher Grant Cameron's book, Tuned In, The Paranormal World of Music. Many of Kevin's personal CE5 ET encounters are discussed in the book Inviting ET by Sue Walker. So give us a thumbs up if you're excited to learn about Kevin's connection with the Ponte, including how one Ponte in particular snuck into his home and retuned his guitar without Kevin knowing. That will be an interesting story that we'll talk about. So Kevin, why don't you just refresh us on, because on our first talk, we talk about how you got into ETs in general, so people can go back to that one and learn about how your process of awakening occurred there. But if you don't mind, let us know about how you in particular got to meet the Ponte and what that was like for you.
Sure. Which do you want me to go back to the very beginning or to the Ponte?
I would say just to start with the Ponte, because we have the very beginning in our very first show with you.
Okay, sure. I was introduced to the Ponte many, many years ago, at least 5 years ago. And that was through my friend Cale, who lives in Australia. And I met him through Misha Johnston's Starseed Awakening chat groups, support groups. And she runs support groups for experiencers and starseeds and secret space program people on a weekly basis. So I met him and we became friends quite quickly. And then he was saying, do you realize that there is a group of extraterrestrials using Twitter? They're called the Ponte. And I'm like, no way. And so I checked them out and started to follow them. And at that point, it was only there was only 4 of the Ponte who were interacting with people on Twitter, which was Tilcum, Drudy, Radar, and Tani. And I followed them quite intently to find out, was this real? And through the conversations, I realized that this was the real deal. And then they started to converse with me. And then I started getting talking to them through private chats. And Teeny was saying that she wanted to set up a meeting that they wanted to introduce me to their telepath, Sue Walker. So I eventually did set up that meeting, and Sue and I had a chance to chat, and we quickly hit it off really quickly, and we've developed a very strong relationship over the last several years. We're very, very close. They're like family to me, Sue and Otter. I love them very much. And I've been to their place many times in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we've had really interesting things happen at their place with the Ponte. But then, the real breakthrough for me when I realized that this was all real was I was talking about creating T-shirts for the Pontee, and at that point, Sue was still really early in her portraits of what she has been creating, and she had like only 4 basic portraits of the Pontee, and I thought it would be cool to have a T-shirt with them on it, and came up with this design idea. And this is all happening live on Twitter. And Tilcom comes on Twitter and says, "Yes, I'd like you to create a T-shirt for us. That would be a very nice idea." And so I responded back and I said, "Well, that's fine, but I want you guys to come up with the caption for the T-shirt." And so I'm thinking, what would be a really cool caption for their T-shirt, and with the 4 of them on it? And then I thought, oh, just like, we're here. So I thought that would be like a perfect caption. I swear to God, 2 minutes later on Twitter was a response from Radar, and it was bracket, "We're here," with this happy smiley face. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, I was just thinking about that. That's just amazing. And then the next tweet comes up from Radar. It's, "Dude, you're easy to read." I was, wait, dude, a telepathy works? Who knew? I'm like, what? And he said, "Dude, you're easy to read and get used to it." So this is happening live on Twitter. I'm just flipping out. It was so funny. Oh my God. So that was the kind of like the real, I realized that things were really real with the Pontee. But I've developed a relationship with them over the last several years, and there's so much to talk about that relationship. It really is.
Yeah, and I love that your interaction was being confirmed in real time. And if you all do go to it's Sandia Wisdom on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you can see other people who are talking about their encounters as well with the Pontee. So it's very much a community experience, as opposed to Sue's the keeper of the Pontee and she has the experience. Like, no, it's happening across the board with people who are making those connections. And let's look at the 2 Pontee on your left hand side there, and we'll talk about the portrait above a little bit later. But let us introduce us there. I think if I'm right, it's Grayson and Druty. Is that right?
It's actually Tilcom.
Oh, it's Tilcom.
Okay. That's Tilcom. Yes, the poster says, "I work for Tilcom." Which
okay,
I do.
Oh, I see. So you're the one who works for Tilcom. I work for
Tilcom. That's right.
And let us know a little bit about Tilcom, and just kind of give us a little thumbnail sketch of Tilcom. Who is he, and why do you work for him?
Tilcom is the commander of the Pontee. He originally started. Well, he's not the first Pontee here, but he's been here for many, many decades to prepare Earth for its official first contact. And he manages the information station at Sandia Wisdom. But there's been many Pontee who have arrived at Earth over the last several years. There's hundreds of Pontee now, many, many new trainees. So it's a big place that needs management. But Tilcom has given many updates over the years in regards to where things are going with official first contact, and what's happening with the Galactic Federation, and what's happening with the planetary changes that are occurring on this planet, particularly with the changes in our sun due to the where we are traveling through the galaxy right now is a very precarious place. There's a lot of energy that's coming from our the central galactic sun, which is affecting all planets and all stars in this quadrant. And there's extreme great concern about what may happen to our planet. But at the same point, official first contact was supposed to happen in the fall of 2021. However, they made an announcement on the winter solstice that the plans have changed a bit, and they are doing things in a much slower way of contact, and they're monitoring the readiness of humans, or if they're ready for official first contact. They're monitoring the health of the planet Earth and also of the sun, and also of the still potential of a false flag alien invasion. So there's lots of things that are going on in regards to why they are doing things at the rate that they are doing. However, it's a catch-22, because on the other side, we are facing a possible cataclysmic event that could wipe out humanity, all of humanity. So these are the problems.
Yeah, I know that there's a concern. I mean, I feel like there's many possibilities, and it's really up to us what we decide to create and collectively create. And I never want to. I promote awareness as opposed to fear, and like that we are spirits in bodies on a planet, and collectively we get to co-create how we experience what we experience next. But I love that the Pontee are like cultural ambassadors for the Star Nations, where they're sort of like mediators of content and connection. And, official first contact, it's already happening unofficially in terms of people having one-on-one experiences. And that's available for people who are willing to raise their vibration and operate out of their heart. Let's talk a little bit about the lovely Jeruti, who's also behind you.
Sure. Judy is a lady's lady. She's a beautiful person in and out. She shares a lot of her loves on Twitter. She loves to dance. She one thing that she loves to do on her off time is something called fly kiting. So she and a friend, when they are able to, they'll go down to some tropical area, and they will telepathically merge with flocks of birds. So when you see these swarms of birds that are flying around like this and this and this, they will contact the birds, and it's all voluntary, of course. It's not like mind control. They'll ask if they can telepathically merge with them to create images. And then they will, with these flocks of birds, they will then create images, and they'll have competitions with her and her friend, who can make the best images with these flocks of birds. So, yeah. So when you see the pictures of flocks of birds that look like one massive bird, or the next time it looks like an owl or like a whale, or another one looks like a human face, or one looks like a dolphin, that's somebody who's fly kiting with the birds. So, birds are, all animals are telepathic. Some are just better than others, But Judy, she loves dance. We've seen many portraits that Sue has done of Judy doing flamenco, because there's local people in am I breaking up?
You're lagging a tiny bit, but you're still with us, so that's awesome.
Okay, all right. So there's flamenco teachers in Albuquerque who she will telepathically merge with to watch them and learn from them the dancing of the flamenco. And there's a really beautiful picture of Judy in a flamenco red dress, and she's got the things in her hands, and she's doing that. And then there's other pictures of her doing like 1920s style dances, and she's got a top hat and a cane, and and it's like wow. So she does all kinds of stuff like that. I know that I've met her, but I don't really remember seeing her face, but I know that she was there when they visited me when I was at the Ozark UFO conference in 2018. And that was a profound experience of when I was actually allowed to remember what happened at that meeting, because they said they were going to be meeting with me, and they did. And it was 2 weeks later when all of a sudden these memories started to come back, and it was we've called it the tea party. So because that's what it was. It was a tea party. I should tell that story. It's crazy. It really is crazy.
Yeah, and I definitely want to hear about that. I think we talked about it on your first show, but I do want to talk about the aspect of people being able to remember and, being allowed to remember and what that's about. But before we get into that, I also want to make sure if Miss Linda or Mr. Jason have any questions or reflections at this point that their voices get heard. Linda?
I'm just really excited to hear the Ponte's take on what's happening in the world right now with the sun, with, just everything. I know that they have been, part of their job is to give messaging out to other ETs on what is a good time to visit and what isn't a good time to visit, what's going on. So what are they telling everyone? You don't have to answer right now. I just want to know during our conversation.
Yeah, and I had a question. So if other people want to make contact with or reach out to, do they do that with their thoughts, or recommend going to like the Twitter account and giving it a follow? Like, what would be the best way for someone watching if they wanted to make that contact? What advice would you give them?
Actually, the answer is both. I would say talking to them on Twitter, and also going to the official First Contact website, downloading the Telepathy 101 primer, which is completely free and is available in 17 languages, and practicing the telepathy primer, practicing your telepathy. And they say if you practice half an hour a day for 100 days, you will have contact. That level of contact can be anything from a ship showing up in the sky and you saying blink, blink to it, and it flashes back at you, or it could be something else. Many of the Twitter followers have responded back with and showing their evidence of their visits from the Ponte. Just recently, 2 different people posted pictures of four-fingered handprints that they found in their place, and that they knew that they weren't theirs. They were somebody else's, and I recognized them immediately because I got the same four-finger handprints right here. I'm staring at them right now on my poster. So so it's good. It's great to have that kind of collaboration when it's more than one person experiencing the same experience, where the Ponte will leave these 4 long-fingered handprints on as evidence. So they're allowing that. So, but the other thing, as far as to make contact with the Ponte, they're just like people. They're just like us too. And if you interact with them on Twitter, you're building a friendship. They get to learn more about you. And so the interaction on Twitter is very important because they get more curious about those Twitter followers and become very interested in their lives when people are sharing their lives and their stories and what they do. And then the Ponte will then fly out and check them out. So it's all about building friendships, just like you would have with any other person. If you want to build a friendship, that's the best way of making contact with somebody. The great thing though with the Ponte is that there is no really real division of distance, because it takes them from Albuquerque to get up to Ontario 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's all it takes in their ship. So I've had many concerts, Pyramids on Mars concerts here in my condo for the Ponte, and I've told yes, that they're on the way. They'll be there in 5 minutes. They're just loading up right now. So I know that's how long it takes them to get up here.
That's fascinating. So you're like playing music for them in your apartment, being like, I'm sending this out to you. Is that what you're saying?
I play physical concerts here in my condo. I do the full show. So we're talking about I've got I got banners that go up behind me, Pyramids on Mars banners that go up. I've got my amplifiers lit up. I've got my pedal board that lights up. I've got a LED stage lights that go in the front of my stage, and I dress up fully every show, makeup and everything, and I put on a full concert for the Pontee, and they're tremendously appreciative of that, to actually experience a real concert.
Where are you? Because I imagine your condo. Where are you doing that at, so that your neighbors aren't like, "Hey, you pyramids from Mars guy, turn it down"? Like, how are you doing that in a way that it's and also you should be live streaming that shizzle so we can watch it. What is your situation? How do you get away with that? That you can do all that?
Sure. It's actually I don't play at a very, very loud volume, so it's a fairly but I'll show you where I play. So
okay.
I totally agree. You should be live streaming that.
Right?
So I got my amplifier. I got my
Okay.
So it's right here.
A mini stage.
And there's lots of room for me to play. Yeah, lots of room for me to play here. And that's my kitchen. But there's lots of room, so I set up my banners up here. I've got stage lights that go down here, and there's lots of room. And then I've got my thank you, Frisco. I've got my couch here, which I flip around so they have a place to sit down. Okay, so I flip my couch around, and then I've got chairs. My other chairs I put around here, so I get the place all set up. And then I close off my curtains so it's nice and dark. And you want to say hi?
Hi.
Oh, okay. All right. There we go. So
that's cool.
It's a great place for me to play.
And so then they energetically.
They really enjoy it.
Do they energetically pop down and hang out? Like astrally pop down and hang out on the couch?
I don't get to see them physically, but I do know that they are there, because on a few shows that I have played, I usually give them extra minutes just to kind of check the place out. And I've come in to go play my show, and there will be my crystals will have been picked up and displaced on my counter. So I know that they've actually picked them up and looked at them.
Okay.
So that's good physical evidence there. After the show, on a few shows, I've heard them stepping on my cables because they've come over to examine my guitars. And the other cool thing was I played 2 shows for the Pontee last week, because it's been a long time since the last show I played. And I had a wonderful visit from Dell, who is their mechanic. And the feedback, the information I got from Sue afterwards was he was very fascinated with my pedal board and my tone of my guitar, particularly my wah pedal, because I use the wah pedal quite extensively. It's part of my sound and my expression, and he wants to know how it works. And then he asked permission about if he can come over to my place to check out my rack and my effects units. So I gave him full permission, and I told him where the cables are all so it makes it easy for him to plug everything in, and he can fire the whole thing up and check it out. So that's pretty cool. The other cool thing was Grayson came as well to the last show, and he's the one who retuned my guitar, which we'll get into that story later on. And then Grayson was talking about he wants me to get an effect on my guitar, which he referred to as underwater reverb. That's to make my guitar sound like a whale. And I was absolutely fascinated at this idea. I couldn't get it out of my head. It's like, oh my God, that is so cool. I never even thought of something like that. And so then I started doing some research online to listen to some whales, to listen attentively to the acoustics of the water, particularly, and how it reflects their voices. And I started to realize that I could actually emulate that same sound with the pedals that I have right now, because when the whales talk, there's an echo, and there's also reverb. But the echo sounds more like a tape echo, which is the exact pedal which I do have, are tape echoes, which Pink Floyd used, on their albums like Animals. They use tape echoes quite a bit, so it's a very natural sounding echo. So I'm going to be experimenting with that to try and make my guitar sound more like a whale.
That is so cool. I love that there's this collaboration going on with you and the Pontee, and I definitely want to talk about this. One thing I just kind of want to clarify is that, do they show up, but they're just not, they're physically in the space, but they're just sort of cloaked so that you don't see them, because that would be a distraction? Or how is it that they're there, but you're not seeing them? What is that technology about? Just so we kind of have an understanding of that.
I wish I knew more. I really wish I knew more about it. If they're here in the physical, or if they're here in a, maybe like in a fifth dimension, it's still unknown to me of how they come here or what dimension they are in. So I don't see them physically. I could jump up onto the couch if I was playing a show, and I wouldn't feel them there underneath me.
Okay.
But I do know that they've left some evidence of, physical evidence of moving things here or stepping on a cable. So it's still an enigma to me, but I do know that they are here, and sometimes there will be others who will not be here physically, but the others will be telepathically projecting the show to others back at the Sandia Mountain, or it could be other ships that are within the vicinity. So they have that ability too, where they will telepathically project the show to others.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Oh, that gives me chills. And it's funny because I would think, my assumption is that extraterrestrials wouldn't be digging metal. Like, you know what I mean? That they'd want something that's more like sounds of, I don't know, like gentle nature sounds or something like that. But they literally have a fascination of our culture and all aspects of our culture. I mean, radar is a great one to, explore all of these different personas that we take on the planet with all of our different many costumes and the things that we wear, our garb. And then, thinking about Drudy wearing, a top hat and a cane and, getting into different dance styles. They've got a fascination for all of it. They're not, they're not just honing in on one style. They love the arts in general, or creativity in general.
They are explorers of culture. They're curious explorers. That's who they are. They love all kinds of things about Earth, and they love to learn about our lives. And it can be the simplest thing, like, does it hurt when you shave? Or, why do you have this part here and not this part here on your face? Some of the questions that they'll ask are very simple, but it's almost childlike in some ways, you would think. But it's like, it's not, they don't know what it's like to be us, or to, what our lives are like. And so their questions can range to multiple different things. And sometimes they're still trying to figure out our language, when we will use double meanings, or a word will mean something else, and then it turns into a joke. So everything to them is new. It's almost like they, like being born, and you don't know what the culture's like, but that's a cool thing. We learn from each other, and we learn about each other's cultures. I've learned so much about the Pontee's culture and what's life like for them back home, and what traditions they have, and it's quite nice. I can't wait to go to Pontel, I should say. You know, Radar's talked about one of his favorite things is going to the mountains and sliding down the mudslides in the mountains. And I can't wait to do that.
On the planet Pontel.
That's right. Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that, about what their lives are like there.
Ooh, that's a great question.
They're, I know that some of their houses look like, if you go back to the Star Wars Christmas special, and the Wookiees' houses that are kind of circular in trees, I've seen some pictures at their houses. Some of their houses look like those. So very, very natural looking houses, almost hut-like. So they like things that are more in nature. They like, to me, one of her favorite things to do here on Earth is to explore caves. They like the naturalness of caves as compared to like an artificially built buildings. That's more of their preference, is more of natural things. So to think of them living in very sophisticated, technological cities, they might, for some of them, maybe, I don't know, but I know that for a lot of them, they prefer more of a natural state, more, what do you call it? What's the word?
Organic?
Rustic. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions around that, Linda?
I haven't gotten any from everyone yet. I'm hoping to see some questions in the chat, guys. We're just talking about who has had experiences right now.
Well, go ahead.
I kind of have a follow-up question about kind of like their life. Because you've mentioned like the engineer, like, there's a captain. So some of them obviously have like jobs or titles. Do they have to have, right? Does that make sense? Like, do you have to have this job? Like for us, like we have to work, right? To make money, to buy things, to pay for things. What is it like for them? Like, do they just get to do it for the pure enjoyment of, because they want to, or how does that work?
I think a lot of their jobs have to do, well, they might be assigned particular jobs, but some of them, it's because of their natural gifts, their natural abilities of what they do naturally, and then they focus on those gifts to make them better. So it's kind of like going back to ancient Greek philosophy, Plato's Republic, where they thought the best cities would be to look at the attributes of what the child are doing at a young age, and to be able to figure out what job will be best for them in society, to see, this person is showing the attributes of a doctor, he should become a doctor. Or this person's showing the attributes of a soldier, we should put him be a soldier. So our natural, what they do is they call themselves gardeners of intellect. That's what the Pontee refer to. And so they will work with a person's natural abilities of what they do well, and then help to hone those abilities. So for instance, Thera, who came onto the Earth about 4 years ago, her specialty is in the tonal languages of the cetaceans and the whales. That is her expertise. And so then she was at the Sandia Mountain base for about 4 months, and then she was transferred to the underwater stations in the Tasmania area. So, but I was very fascinated to learn about, what she was doing and her work, and that's when I was downloaded with the whale tonal language course. Radar, for instance, he works with media, so he is an expert with all the movies that portray extraterrestrials, and that is his specialty. He is also their long-range telepath, so he can telepathically communicate with the Ponte back at home who are 40 light years away, and he can do that. People ask,
Hence the name Radar, right?
Radar, very good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he got the nickname from Radar from MASH. Actually, that's where he got the name. But and then Jrudy is a liaison for Star Nations in regards to communications with other Star Nations and other Star Nations who visit the Sandia Mountain. She knows a lot of them personally, and when they come to the station, she'll be asking them about how their kids are doing, or how things are going back home, and she knows everybody in a personal level, and she's a cultural liaison. Tani, she is a telepathic teacher, so she helps to teach people on regards to telepathy and the developing of these abilities. And she has worked with me extensively for several years on helping to develop my abilities of telepathic communication through my music. And that is the work that I've been doing. She's taught me about the edge of the black and the nature of creativity, and about connecting with the collective consciousness and co-creating. And that's how my music is created. It's a co-creation. When you lower your brain waves to an alpha state, you are then connecting with the collective consciousness, and then you are amplifying your emotional content with the collective consciousness to create music. And Fira actually wrote to me a long sheet explaining to me this concept of the edge of the black and how to do it. And it's become my mantra in regards to how I write my music. I should probably read that because it's tremendously important. I've quoted it in the back of my CDs as well. And also in addition to the teachings of tonal language that Tini has taught me about how to write my music and the content. And then when I read these things, when you hear my music, you'll understand why my music sounds the way it does. So they're mantras to me.
Do they reproduce naturally? Do you know?
I'm not quite sure about that, but I do know that they do produce their offspring, and they are guarded very, very carefully. They do not allow any humans or anybody to get near their children for a long stage of their development. They are very, very protected, their children. I know that much, but I don't know exactly if they're produced naturally or what. But the Ponte, they're a male and female Ponte. They're definitely different biologically, the male and the female. So, yeah.
We have a question from Misty, but did you have something you wanted to say, Linda?
No, go ahead and get Misty's.
Okay, cool. And then I do want to weave back in Linda's question about what's their current update. I think we can weave that also into the music, because I think some of that's coming through Kevin's music in terms of the messages they're trying to get across. And if not, then I want to honor that question as well. So Misty was asking about a vibrational machine that you have, and she said you'd know what she was talking about.
A vibrational machine.
See, Misty. See if I can find what she says here. He has a super cool vibrational machine, Cat. He'll know what I means. I don't know what he calls it.
A reverberation? A reverb?
Your heart? Is it your heart, the vibrational machine that we're...
I'm not quite sure what they're referring to, vibrational machine.
All right, Misty.
Be a little bit more specific?
Give us more deets, Miss Misty, if you got them. I think that's Lorelei who's Misty on this live stream. But she says he played it for us. Do you know Lorelei? I think Misty is Lorelei. Do you know Lorelei?
I'm not quite sure. The name is slipping me. Vibrational machine.
The machine you were talking about in the Sunday session a few weeks back, and this is from Steve also known as Everybody is Family. Some kind of tones and vibrations he played. So it's some kind of... All right. Well, we'll let you ponder on that one. It'll come back to you.
It makes me think of those machines that you put your hands over, and like depending on where your hands placed and how you're moving your hands, it makes a sound.
Oh, I love those.
A theremin?
Yeah.
Are you playing a theremin?
I wish I could play a theremin. No,
Okay.
I'm not. I'd love to play a theremin, but
So we don't know exactly what that is, but we'll if maybe y'all can give us some more details on that. But let's start talking about we've got an hour left with Mr. Kevin, and I just feel like we're just on the tip of the iceberg of all that's going through.
Misty is Misty, by the way.
What's that?
Misty is Misty, by the way.
Oh, Misty. Her name's actually Misty. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Lorelai. We have a gal named Lorelai who I thought was. Anyway, nonetheless, thank you for clarifying.
I have a really quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of instruments do they have? Have they ever shown you?
yes, they have actually. I can show you a picture of one. They have an instrument which is a harp, which is built out of a seashell. Let's take you guys on a tour, because Sue Walker, Christmas present, she sent me a picture of it.
Ooh.
Can you zoom in a little?
Yeah, can you get closer to it and talk so we can? Oh, I think you froze.
Uh-oh.
Son of a biscuit.
I just watched, I'm going to kill some time here. I just watched this cool video on YouTube of 5 new instruments. And one of them was what do you call it? A theremin?
A theremin.
Theremin.
Okay,
and they actually made hand signals with it for different vowels and words so you could sing with it.
Whoa.
Isn't that freaking amazing?
That's super amazing.
That's super amazing. But the control that it takes to play that instrument.
And also the experimentation, like to learn that that's actually a thing, like you'd have to.
Yeah. And there's one that's a pendulum that uses pendulum and vibration and magnets. Woo!
Linda's a pendulum aficionado, if you don't know. I get readings from her on a regular basis. I was going to ask you, Jason, have you had any visual, being not to put the pressure on you, but have you had any visual impressions while Kevin gets reconnected here?
Like as far as, so before he mentioned the 4-finger handprint, I saw a 4-finger hand like in my head, but I've had, as soon as I joined and Kevin started talking, like I've had a lot of energy. Like I'm holding this little crystal for whatever reason. I was like, let me just I needed something to hold on to. Like it's sitting in my stomach. It's so weird. Like it's like the solar plexus, but like it's heavy. Just I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a lot of lights. Like when I took my shoes off, like I am barefoot, and I'm normally not like let me ground, but I am like because it's so much energy just kind of like here. But yeah, so I'm just it's a lot. But visual, the only thing I've seen was the 4-finger hand. Okay. So that was cool when he said that. I was like, okay, I'm on to something.
I'm back.
All right. You may have gone, maybe, I don't know if it was too far away. We almost saw the instrument you showed us, but then you froze.
Yeah, I won't leave a room again.
Okay. So maybe you can take a picture of that and share it in our Facebook group. It's motivation for people to come into our Facebook group and see that. Oh, he froze again. Oh dear.
Oh.
Let's ask our guides and our maybe the Ponte Tech people can help Kevin's streaming, so he is with us and not popping into oblivion there.
Yeah, I was having problems this morning too with Zoom, so maybe it's a Zoom thing. I don't know.
All right.
So,
Well, let's
I
see.
want to see if we've got some discussion going on about. We have a lot of people who are in our group who have had Ponte experiences. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know what the name of the Twitter? Did he say it's? He said it's like.
It's
spell it for me.
Sandia Wisdom. It's Sandia Wisdom.
Okay.
And I'll put that in our group chat as well. Sandia Wisdom on Twitter. And it's Sandia is because when the mountain, so when Sue first met the Ponte with hanging out with Otter, she just called them Sandia because she didn't know who she was talking to, and Sandia actually means watermelon, and it was in reflection to the striations or the color patterns of the mountains in which the Ponte were hanging out. So I'll put that in our live stream as well, so people can join there if they want.
Yeah, when I picture it, I know it's not, but I think of the Men in Black where they've got all of the little people communicating with the rest of the galaxies. Now's a good time to come. Don't come. They're crazy down here.
Going a little crazy right now, which is why we could. But I know their energy is supporting us in the upgrades that we're all being challenged with.
They did, they did actually say at one point, I remember him saying, with the virus going around the planet, not a good time to visit.
Yeah, which is interesting because you would think, to me, I'm like, surely they would, a human virus is something that they could be able to repel from their system. But that can be an assumption.
Well, I think it's the same as having indigenous people who are not exposed to viruses. It could be much worse.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like Kevin is trying to come back in.
Yep, he is trying.
It says audio. You there, Kev?
I'm here. Yeah.
We can hear you, and now we can see you. All right.
Okay. Yay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Weird stuff going on here.
It's okay. Let's go ahead and talk about the album. And
sure.
And also we can put in the discussion here about, what the Ponte are saying in terms of updates and if there's any yellow, orange, or red alerts that they've got going on. So here are the names. I'll show the names. The album is going to be released on 31st of May. Is that right, Kevin?
Oh, there he goes again.
No,
maybe we can get Kevin.
Maybe
you on just audio.
I can hear you.
Okay, we can see you. I can hear you and see you. It froze there for a moment. Please, tech people, please support us. I was going to say that your album is being released on May 31st, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So here, I want to give people the titles here of these. So maybe if you have any questions about these songs, I have some questions. Interstellar, Phoenix from the Ashes, Cosmic Angels, On Dragon's Wings, and that was the clip I played a little bit of when we first got started. Luftpanzer, air tanks, is what that translates to air tanks. Luftpanzer is air tanks in English. That would be clearly German into my recollection or to my understanding. Echoes of Peter Steele, Thlele, that's one we'll definitely talk about. A Dolphin's Paradise, in parentheses, Thera's Theme, and that was the Ponte that works with Kevin on tonal languages. And then Arcturian Sunset. That sounds amazing. So I'm just going to hop in and ask, what is Phoenix from the Ashes, and what inspired that? What was the communication with the Ponte that kind of gave that wings?
That song is actually more of It was written in the 2020, really during the peak of the pandemic depression. So when I was following all the information in regards to what was going on the planet, in regards to censorship, and what what I was learning about these injections, and just everything that was going on, watching what's happening in the United States. It was a really depressing time. So, and then losing friends as well who wouldn't listen to me, got angry at me for me sharing information and calling me a conspiracy theorist. And, if there was a problem, it would be on the news, Kevin. You got to trust the news. I'm like, okay, all right. I see where you're coming from. So, Fauci, he's saved us all. I'm like, okay, all right. I see where you're coming from. So, Phoenix from the Ashes was basically, I wanted to break through from all that, the depression where you're at their lowest point in your life, to break through it all, to create something that's of your highest being, of highest peak. And so, basically like as a phoenix that, burns to the ground, and then this beautiful bird comes out of it. That's what that song is about breaking through from your lowest point in your life to saying, this is not going to consume me. I'm going to create the most beautiful thing that I can with every fiber of my being. And that's where that song was born, to play that kind of high energy that the song was, the fight through. And then I, because of my love for the video game Assassin's Creed, I took video footage from a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed games and turned it into the music video. And it's just a freaking awesome music video. So I just love the song.
That's awesome. And then I wanted to ask you also about On Dragon's Wings. I've had some dragon connections lately, so there's a personal curiosity for me, but also when I listened to the song the first time, like, I'm not a metal person, but I still know quality music when I hear it. Like I can feel like the artistry and integrity of something, even if it's not my genre. And when I was listening to that, I was like, whoa. And then I was like, oh yeah, like if you were soaring through the cosmos or through anywhere on a dragon, this is exactly the music you'd want to be listening to. Or it's like that sensation of like that rapid flight and adventure. And so I'm wondering how that song showed up in your consciousness. Oh, Kevin, he froze again. Oh, biscuits. Okay, he's coming back in. There you are.
Back in.
All right. So tell us about on Dragon's Wings.
Okay. Yes, that song was about wanting to have your own dragon. What would be like to have your own pet dragon and to be able to fly on the back of your dragon. And that was actually influenced by way back in university. We were playing role-playing games with a friend of mine, and we took
oh dear.
I think we need to just have him on audio for a while.
Maybe if I don't know if that'll make any difference, to be honest.
Well, it might, because it would take less bandwidth.
All right, can you hear?
We can hear you. Maybe try doing with no camera and see if that.
I just took the camera off.
Okay, we'll see if that does us any favors.
Okay, yeah, we'll try that then. Okay, you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So on Dragon's Wings, back in university, a friend of mine, we were playing a role-playing game, which we took Dungeons and Dragons rules, but then we were using the storyline from the series Dragon Rider, Dragon Riders of Pern, which is a book series, and it takes place on an alternate planet that actually ends up being Earth. But dragons were real, and they were dragon riders, and my name was Batas, and I had a green dragon whose name was Serena. And even though it was just a role-playing game, I really developed this relationship with my dragon Serena, and that was really where the real inspiration for On Dragon's Wings came from. Was those role playing games and wishing that I had my own dragon. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from.
Nice. I wanted you also to tell a story about Grayson coming in and tuning your guitar, because I know that impacted a lot of how you wrote a lot of the songs, or how their songs came through.
Yeah,
For
yeah, it did. So half the album was recorded on my Gibson Les Paul, which was retuned by Grayson. And the story behind that was one day I just picked up my Les Paul. It's almost like a voice was saying, "You want to play your Les Paul today?" I'm like, it's almost like Obi-Wan Kenobi mind trick. And I pick up my guitar, and it just sounded so rich and so deep. And I just started, I just hit record and started writing some songs. And the first song I wrote on that with that retuning is a song that didn't make it to the album, but it's called "Gray Sphere of Influence," referring to Grayson. And but the guitar just sounded so rich, and then I started writing all these songs that were just in one take. I'd hit the record button, and the whole songs would just come together. Like that happened with Echoes of Peter Steele, Luftpanzer. Actually, every song on the album was recorded in one take. That's going to the Edge of the Black. But after recording these songs on the Les Paul, I was like thinking, there's something different about the guitar. My guitar has never sounded this low before. And then I checked it out and realized that the guitar had been retuned and it was dropped down a whole step and a half from where it was. Now, my Les Paul is already tuned low anyway, because I drop D tune it. So you take the E string and you drop it down to a D. So it's a tuning that Tool uses, the band Tool. But then I take that tuning and drop the whole guitar down a whole step to drop C. But my guitar was dropped down even further, a whole step and a half, to drop A. But it wasn't quite A, because when I checked the tuning, it was like A sharp. And like I tuned to 432 hertz, okay? So whatever happened, it was tuned to a completely different frequency. The only way for me to figure out what the heck happened to my guitar was I had to get a frequency generator and then find out what the frequency was that the guitar was tuned to. Well, to my shock, the guitar was tuned to 528 hertz solfeggio frequency, which was it's a DNA healing frequency. So I knew that somebody... Oh, are we frozen?
No, you're good.
Now we're frozen again.
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Kevin.
Don't freeze on me.
We can't see you. We can hear you.
We're frozen to him, apparently.
Oh. Fredo.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you, Kevin.
Can you hear me?
us?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So what happened was he tuned my guitar to 528 hertz solfeggio frequency, but he also tuned my guitar to a baritone setting. And the guitar is not normally able to hold that kind of a low frequency, because the strings just want to flap on the guitar. So I had to go out and buy a heavier gauge of strings in order to be able to maintain that tuning. But I contacted Pontee, and Grayson came on Twitter, and he confirmed that he had retuned my guitar. So that was unbelievable, totally unexpected. And it opened up a whole new range of playing on the guitar, particularly because of the way the low E string was tuned so low. It had this low resonance that just, I can't explain. It's almost like in a different dimension. And here's a funny part. When I was doing an interview with Sue Walker on my radio show one time, Grayson actually interrupted the show to talk to me through Sue. And the first thing he said was, "So how's that new tuning going for you?" And then he started explaining to me about how to play the guitar. And then he was talking about the low E string being, he referred to it as the exclamation mark, the eureka. He was describing it to a Shakespeare play. And then he says, and then use that low note to bring things back into resonance with the rest of the song, to make people listen up and go, what was that? And pick up on these on something that's a bit deeper. And so that technique you will hear in the song Arcturian Sunset. The techniques that he was talking about using that last note as the eureka. And you will hear that in that song, because at some points the song sounds normal, and then all of a sudden I hit that low string, and it completely changes the sound of the chord progression. So that's something to pay attention to in that song.
And you were saying when I was chatting with you the other night that there were several songs that came through like that, where they just were recorded in one take. You were kind of, channeling them at that point, essentially.
Yes, actually, every song on the album was recorded in one take. So I would pick up my guitar, and the songs came instantaneously to me. The chord progressions, everything. And I just would hit the record button and then record the entire song from beginning to end as one flowing piece. And then I would then just learn the song as it was, and then everything else came together. So all my music is based off of the rhythm guitar. That's the foundation for the song. And then I record that, and then the song writing process is I write the drums for the song, and then the bass comes in, and then the synthesizers, and the last part of the song is always the lead guitar. That's my songwriting process. And I'm a songwriter. There's a lot of instrumental guitar players who have a tendency to play a lot and solo a lot. And that's not my approach to my songwriting. For me, the song is the song. And if the song doesn't require a lead guitar to it, I will not put a lead into it. So that's why Echoes of Peter Steele, there's no lead in that guitar. It did not require it. I started to write a lead melody for that song, and it didn't work. It ruined the song. It took away from the emotional message of that song, because that song was written in tribute to Peter Steele of the band Typo Negative, who passed away many years ago. And I was devastated when he died. I loved Typo Negative. I saw them 3 times in concert. I love Peter Steele's playing, and it's just who he was. And when you hear that song, I'm bleeding on that song. I was holding back tears the entire time I was playing that song. And it's a tribute to him. And I left it as it was, with no lead guitar, because the whole story told itself with that song. So that's how I write.
That is beautiful. And I wanted to initially, I want to talk about Flaley, and we're not going to see her picture here because of we're going to let you stay on audio instead of doing the video, because that seems to be pulling you off connection. But what I'm going to ask is that you take maybe a little picture of Flaley with your camera.
I do have. I have one on my phone that I can pull up.
Oh, if you put it into our chat, then I can open it up and I can show a picture of her.
Yep.
And that would be cool. So let us know about the song Flaley and that particular ET connection you have.
Sure. So the song Flaley is that the song actually was inspired by Devin Townsend. I'm not sure if you know who he is. He's an artist. He was also with the band Strapping Young Lad, but he's a solo artist, Devin Townsend. And a song that he had released a while back called Stormbender, and that music video really inspired me because it's like, it's showing the whole world falling apart. Like it's like a disaster movie. The ground cracking open and the earth swallowing up and everybody's dying. And that's what was the inspiration for this song of seeing that happening and us, raising our hands to the sky, asking for extraterrestrials to come save us, to rescue us. And Flaley was the inspiration for that song. I just called the song Flaley, in homage of her. And Flaley was a Star Nation visitor to my place a couple of years ago, and we believe that she is Arcturian's peoples. So she's a combination, we think, of Arcturian and Lyran or Lyran. Lyran are like cat people, so there's Star Nations that are like cat people, and she has blue skin. She looks very much like, if you've seen the movie Avatar, the Na'vi and Avatar, the blue extraterrestrials. She looks very much like them, but without any hair. But the same color eyes, like amber eyes, and blue skin. Her head was larger, like a Pontee's head, but her eyes were like cat eyes, and they glowed a little bit in the dark. She's just incredible, like just physically, but her energy too. When she visited me, she was bubbly and laughing and very young, like in her 20s, I would say, and she was just so cool. And then Sue Walker and I worked 3 days to do a forensic portrait of her, and actually, you know what, Katman? It says right now only the host can share in this meeting.
Well, let's go ahead. I'll get you. I just don't want it to give you any troubles with disconnecting you. But let me see if I can go ahead and give you permission to do that. I'll make you a co-host. That should give you permission to go ahead and share.
Okay, let's try that.
And if not, we'll post. Maybe you can post a picture.
Oh. Yep, that works.
Okay. And yep. So when you do share it, you just have to be the one talking, so that way you grab the screen.
We're still connected?
Yep, we're still connected. Can you hear us? Kevin, can you hear us?
Maybe text him in the chat.
Well, if he's not getting a connection, he's not going to get that either. But
sometimes he can.
Yeah, we're still connected.
Yep. I don't know if you're able to share. If it's gonna, I just don't want that to boot you off the live stream.
We could put it in our Facebook group.
Yep.
All right. Get her, if I can find. Okay, the picture should be coming up.
Okay. And if not, we'll just post it, if you're willing, in our Facebook group so people can see it. Okay, great. You talk. Okay, great. That's beautiful. You talk.
All right. So this is Flaley. She visited me a couple of years ago, and the way she visited me was in a lucid dream state. So it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had woken up and I'm trying to go back to sleep, and then I'm halfway in between awake and asleep, and then I'm in this lucid state where the dream was basically I was like lying in bed like if I was awake. But at that point I started to choke on the back of my tongue. I was paralyzed, and I knew that someone was there visiting me, and she let me wake up just enough so I could tilt my head back so I wasn't choking on the back of my tongue anymore physically. And then once I was comfortable again, it's like she yanked it's like consciously she yanked me right back into that lucid dream state. And here I am basically lying in bed, and there's someone who's crawling out from underneath the bed sheets. And then she pops up from the bed sheets like, surprise, it's me. And with this huge, big smile on her face, and I'm looking at her and like I was just like, wow. And she was just gorgeous. And it was totally unexpected, but the way she introduced herself was like we knew each other. So it's like I lived this secret life of other contact, probably with the Pontee, because they've picked me up probably like 2 or 3 dozen times, not abductions, they're like, wellness visits. And maybe I've met her somewhere else, because the way she introduced herself was like we already knew each other. And we interacted in this lucid dream state. We rested our cheeks next to each other. So I rested my cheek next to her cheek, and then I was touching the back of her head, and the back of her head felt like almost like a football at the end of it. And she had this bone in the back of her neck that was kind of like almost like felt like a brick of the skeletal structure of the back of her head. And then I touched her arm, and she had very, very coarse hair on her arms, and her skin was very cool to the touch. But I remember the feeling of her cheek next to mine, and her cheek was kind of like pudgy, like you see in this picture here, kind of like like Princess Leia in Star Wars. She kind of had these pudgy cheeks. So that really stood out for me, because her cheeks are really soft, and that's a cool thing. That's so cool about these lucid dream interactions, is that it's totally physical. It's physical in every single sense. It's like being awake, but it's as much conscious as being awake, but you're in a dream state, and it's totally interactive. And she, I remember asking her, how did you find me? Did you feel me out or something like that? And then she laughed. I could hear her physically laugh. And then I got a telepathic side thought from her in this lucid dream state that was saying, do you think all your interactions are initiated by you? And I was just like, huh? So I didn't really understand what she meant by that, but that was the side thought that I got from her. Really cool. Telepathy, how it works. And then all of a sudden she says, oh my gosh, is that a watch? And she reaches over to my night table, and here's this watch on my night table, a watch that I had lost 20 years ago that's broken now. And she was fascinated with the watch. And then she puts this watch on. I knew it was broken, and she's still playing with it, with the knobs and stuff. And she was really fascinated by the watch. So the thing is that was a memory that she found inside me telepathically that she found very interesting, was this memory of this watch. And so she became fascinated with it, and she's playing with the watch as we're talking. And then I said, you can keep it. And then I remember waking up. So that was the end of that dream. But that was not the only time that I ever met Flaley. I met her a second time, and that took place maybe a year ago. But that's that time she actually took me up onto her ship in my astral body. And so this is when I started to astral travel, and I've been doing that now for a year and a half. And so here I am. I was brought up onto this ship with very, very tall ceilings, and I had like Roman columns that were molded into the walls. And I was taken down this hallway at tremendous fast speeds. A door opens up, and there's a small room inside. I see 3 people with white bodysuits and blue heads and blue skin. And then Flaley walked up to me, and she gave me a hug. So that was so cool.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to talk about your astral projection or your astral travels these days. And if you don't mind stopping the screen share, that was amazing. That was amazing. Let's see if I can get it into. Yeah, I have this in I have this into like a gallery view right now, so people can still see this since Mr. Kevin's on Frozen, or not Frozen, but since he's not visually available. But let's answer Linda's question from the beginning of the show, where, what are the Ponte's updates that they have for us? Is there anything that they're really wanting to share?
Well, Tilcom came on to Twitter about a week and a half ago, which I posted all of those chats on the Sandia Mountain group in Facebook, because he was having a conversation with some people on Twitter about the coming Earth changes, because they were asking about what's going on with the sun. So they are very concerned about our sun and what's happening with it, because we are getting massive amounts of coronal mass ejections coming from our sun almost daily now. So our sun is really, really acting up. And it's not just our planet, or so it's not just the sun that's been changing quickly, but NASA has noticed major changes with Uranus and Pluto and other planets that are being affected. And they know that there's already some other suns within our galaxy near us that have had major changes to their suns. And this is all cyclical, folks. Okay, this is not the first rodeo. This happens every 12,000 years, where we have these cataclysmic events, and there's much history to this, and it's been written about in our ancient texts and in our religions. So this is all real, and what they're afraid of is our sun doing just as we're afraid of a polar shift happening on our planet, there could be a polar shift with our sun, and that can influence to have a micronova with the sun, and that would mean a huge mass ejection from the sun. That if it hit the Earth, as Tilcom put it, it wouldn't matter what side of the planet that you were facing. It doesn't matter what side is facing the sun. Eventually, the whole planet would be covered in this ejection. That would he called it would be an extinction level event. It would be he called it a global reset. That's how bad it could be. So they are very concerned about this. They're also concerned about the potential pole shift with our planet, because right now our poles are just artificially held in place. And if they do switch, it could cause the Earth to tilt. That's why Antarctica at one point was a tropical zone, because at one point it was closer to the equator. It's not the first time that Earth has had these type of tilts. If that did happen, that would mean that there would be a huge sloshing of the oceans that would wipe out a lot of the coastlines. So we're talking about millions of people dead. We could also have a mass ejection from the sun that may not be as cataclysmic, but it would be what we would call a kill shot, which would completely destroy all electronics on the planet. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about an EMP. We're talking about, well, it is like an EMP, but we're talking about destruction of everything that's electronic. So nothing will work. Everything will be gone. We'll have no cell phones. We'll have no electricity. Cars won't work. Everything will be melted, and we will be back to foraging and back to survival, trying to survive off of the elements, because we won't have any electricity.
So I got two questions. How is the sun, or how is the Earth in an artificial tilt right now? Why is that artificial? What makes it artificial?
I don't know all the details. I don't even know if it is artificial. I just know that we haven't had I know that the magnetic poles have been moving, but they have not officially locked in place and had a pole shift yet. But right now, they've been following the magnetic poles as they've been slowly moving southwards, and if they do actually lock in place, that's when we could have an axis tilt.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, I was watching, and I'll try to find this video and put it in our Facebook group. There's a really good one discussing what happens with these solar flares, and that we missed a catastrophic event in 2012. I think that's the year Mayans said that the end of the earth was going to happen. It missed hitting Earth by like 8 days. It just happened to flare in a different direction. Mm-hmm. Had it been 8 days off, it would have gone right into Earth's atmosphere and caused a cataclysmic event. So, yeah, it's a real thing. It's not a doomsday. We want to, but, shit happens. It happens.
Well, and it speaks to kind of our arrogance of, that can't happen to us. It can't happen here. As opposed to understanding that we're participants in an experience, not the ones who are, making it happen. But I do want to speak to that in a way that we are making it happen. We are collectively creating life and creating our experience. Did the Ponte ever speak to that element of that we're consciously creating what we're experiencing, or is that not really their vibe?
They don't really talk about that kind of stuff. They don't. So I don't have much information regards to that, because I hear that from other people, which I believe is true, but the Ponte don't really talk about that themselves. Okay.
Do you know if, go ahead, if we were to have this massive event, right? Have they said anything about trying to help out? Do they take some of us, right? If this is an extinction level, everybody on the planet is gone. Do some of us get to hop on board and zoom out?
I was waiting for somebody to ask that question. I was waiting to give you guys the answer. So yes, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. There are a bunch of massive planetary-sized ships which are behind Uranus right now, and maybe other parts of this galaxy, who are the equivalent of Red Cross rescue ships, in order to help us if a cataclysm does take place. So there are rescue ships. However, they cannot rescue all 7 or 9 billion people on the planet.
So make friends on Twitter real fast. Make friends on Twitter.
Yes. You see, you have to understand is that there are people who are ready for contact, and then there are people who are not ready for contact. And they need to, they have to protect themselves as well. So if you can imagine there's a cataclysm, and they bring on board somebody onto the ship who's never had extraterrestrial contact, is some big football watching big beefy guy, and he wakes up one day and he's on board a ship with little aliens. That's not going to go over very good with him, and it's going to put everybody into danger. So there are some people who are more ready for that type of event, and are not as much of a danger, because they have to protect. They have to be protective for everybody and everybody's safety, of who's ready and who's not ready. So that's really all I know. They will rescue. They're going to rescue people, but they can't rescue everybody, and they will help out, as Star Nations have in the past, where they have relocated people to safer places during these type of cataclysmic events. They've brought people underground. That's why they've discovered all these massive underground cities all over Europe and stuff like that, and they're in the United States too, where people lived underground for a period of time during these cataclysms.
Would they include our animals?
I would hope so. I would hope
That's a very sweet thought. That's a very sweet thought. I was just going to pop in and say, yeah, that's also the legacy of the ant people, and the ant people coming above ground to help indigenous people go beneath the ground, and staying with them for long periods of time until it was safe to return to the planet surface.
There you go. That's right.
In our history as well. Did you have another question, Mr. Jason? I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that was really the last one. Well, it may be kind of piggyback at that, so I lied. I do have one question. Do they have animals?
Yes, they do. Yeah, they sure do. Let's see here. Drudy brought with her back to Earth. He's called a scratcher, which is kind of like the equivalent of a sloth. And his name is Boom Boom, and he can speak. He can speak words, and sometimes they will get him to place pizza orders for them. I'm not kidding you. So, like extra large anchovies. He'll do this and place pizza orders for the Pontee, and then Radar will go and pick up pizza. These are true stories. That Radar has done this, where he's gone to pick up pizza. He's got lots of costumes. He'll dress up like Spock from Star Trek with the ears and stuff, and he'll go and he'll pick up pizza and bring it back to the the Sasquatch clan or something like that. So and they'll get their animal a Boom Boom, who's a scratcher, to place the orders. Now they also have other animals as well. They recently adopted a cat to the base who they call Lost, and they're really affectionate with this cat. And there's lots of pictures with some of the Pontee, like I think it's Zoot, who he hangs out with their cat Lost quite a bit. So yeah, they do have pets, but they don't call them pets. They are it's not like an ownership thing. It's a relationship thing. It's a symbiotic relationship, and the animals are free to come and go as they want. They're not locked in a room or whatever. They can leave the base if they want to, and they can come back. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Alicia says that they're called companions.
Yes, companions. There you go.
So that's awesome. Linda, did you have any other questions around your the updates from the Pontee that you wanted to pop in?
You mentioned at the beginning that there was a slowdown for them in making their awareness, or making their announcement of being here. Speak more on that. Like, what's happening with that?
Well, we had hoped that there would be some kind of something of a much larger event that would take place of an official first contact, of some kind of landing or some kind of ship showing up, but that has not taken place. They are trying to do things in a way as to not create panic or to not look like a threat. So that is why they're doing things slower. And so what they're doing is really having a lot more daytime sightings. So they're flying out during the daytime, and that's why there's a lot more increase of UFO sightings, trying to get people to look up in the sky and see their galactic neighbors. Now, I also know that they are trying to make contact with other important global leaders on the planet to help to awaken the planet up, to increase disclosure. But I don't have much details. I don't have more details on that of who those people are. I know Dalai Lama is one of them, but that's all I really know. So I really wish that they would speed things up and do something, because I really feel like we're running out of time. I wish I had more information.
What does a typical ship look like?
The Pontee ships?
Yeah.
Well, I actually have a picture of one that looks exactly like the ship that flew over my house back in August 21st, 2014, which was my initial awakening when this UFO flew past my house. It was waiting behind a tree and came out the minute I stepped onto my deck, and it was within 100 yards of me. I probably could have threw a stone to hit it. And finally, there's some pictures that are showing up online of the ship, the craft that I saw. So I'll show you. I'm going to bring it up right now.
Cool. Is this a drawing or is this a photo?
Everybody keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, keep your fingers crossed that the connection
Your breath.
Oh,
lasts.
this is a photograph.
It's a photograph. All right, sweet. All right, cool. Ooh. Oh, it's an artist recreation, it'd be saying artist recreation. Kevin, can you hear us? Are you there, Kevin?
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted.
Kevin,
Okay.
you're muted.
Ask to unmute. All right. I'll see if I can. There he goes. So Kevin, that says artist recreation, my friend.
Does it? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. That says
Okay.
artist.
Why is artist recreation?
Yep, that's what it says. In the lower right-hand corner. So is that the right picture?
That is a picture, but I do have another one. Hang on. I don't know what's going on with this. Something's going strange here. My microphone is. Can you hear me? Okay.
We hear you. Yep, we can hear you.
But you just muted yourself again.
Okay. My phone is just.
It may
But
mute
it's a
every
mode
time you go
here
to share.
That is not allowing me. Yeah, and now I can't pick up the picture. I can't get into it.
Okay.
I may have to call back again.
That's okay, Kev. Why don't we share that one on our Facebook group, eh? I don't want to lose our time with you fighting the phone. If you want to stop sharing, and we'll get those pictures and we'll share those in our Facebook group. Motivation to enter our Facebook group. We'd like to hear from you about before we have to wrap it up here. I'd like to hear about some of your astral travels you've been doing lately and what those have been like for you.
Okay. This is probably still showing the picture, right?
It is, yep. And if you can...
Yeah, okay.
I don't have
for some reason, my phone has gone into some mode. I've never seen it before. It's just a button saying for me to speak, and it's not. I can't find any. It's not giving me any other option.
That's okay. I took care of it. So you just go ahead and tell us the story.
You took it down. Okay.
Yep.
Sure. Okay. All right. We're good that way. Okay. So astral travel. It began about not last December or November, but November prior to that, when I started to this started to occur, and I didn't know what was happening. I just remember that all of a sudden I found myself spinning in space, and I was going upside down and right side up, and I felt myself physically spinning in space, but I was not dreaming. I was somewhere else, and I'm like wondering, where the heck am I? What's going on here? And I didn't understand what was going on. But the one time where I finally clicked in, where I actually realized that I was astral traveling, there was one night where I was really, really tired and I couldn't get to sleep, and I really wanted just to go to sleep. And so I took a melatonin, and I was waiting for myself to get tired enough to go to sleep. And it was almost like I was watching myself fall asleep, in the sense of becoming more conscious of when I was becoming more tired, and I was just focusing on my pineal gland, the center of my brain, feeling myself getting more tired. And then I felt my body starting to buzz. My whole body was like physically, almost like it was like electrical. And I could feel this buzzing, and my physical body was building up and building up. And then I could feel that I was getting more and more tired, and I felt like this pressure was building up on my pineal gland. And I was thinking, I was realizing that I was getting closer and closer to finally falling asleep. And then the instant that I let myself go to sleep, boom, I fell out the back of my body and was flying at tremendous speeds. And it was like it was a physical equivalent of doing a high dive backwards, off of a cliff, down a 3,000 foot gorge. and I was flying at tremendous speeds, and I realized that I was still physical. I could feel my body, but I was not sleeping. I was doing something else, and I was aware that I was astral traveling. But then I became paranoid because I was thinking about I'm not in my body, and then I somehow was able to then check on myself while I was lying in bed, and I could hear my bedroom. I could hear the fan running in my room, and I could look around and see that everything was okay. But at the same point, I was simultaneously flying miles and miles away from my body somewhere else. And I was thinking, how could I possibly be in two places at the same time? What's going on here? But I was okay. My body was, the reason why I went to check on my body was because it sounded like I heard somebody in my room. And I believe that there was somebody in my room because I heard a sound next to the corner of my dresser. Okay. And after I was listening and I felt like I was okay, I just went back out there, and just went astral traveling and whatever. And then that was the end of it. But the next morning, when I woke up, there was a black stone that was placed on the floor next to the place where I felt there was somebody there, where there was a presence. And I think that there was somebody who was there who was keeping an eye on me or watching me, making sure that I was okay. Because I don't know where this black stone came from. And I've hung on to it today. I still have it. And I keep it with my crystals because I think it's very important. It's like a reminder for me, these abilities. And then I started looking online, researching astral travel, and realized that's what I was doing. And so I over the years, I've found other ways, easier ways to get into the astral. You're able to do it in multiple different ways, such as leaving your own dream and just deciding to leave a dream and go in the astral. So I have done it 2 different techniques where in a dream, I wrap myself up in a white cocoon of light. And then I feel my physical body vibrating really quickly. And then all of a sudden I'm out of the dream and I'm floating in space again. And then the further you move away from your body, the more stable you become. And then you're able to go. Okay. Now I've also done it in another way where I just decided to fall through the floor. So in a dream, you can close your eyes in a dream. I just closed my eyes and let myself fall flat on my face to hit the floor. And I didn't hit the floor. I went through the floor. And then I found myself spinning in space again in astral traveling. And I left, I was able to leave my physical body that way. So there's multiple ways of doing it. But, I also did it where I've been lying in bed and focusing on leaving my body. And I've been able to physically detach myself from my body and basically float 3 inches off my bed. And that's pretty wild when you're able to do that, where I was able to dislodge my body and then float in my bed. And that feeling of leaving your physical body and that heaviness of your body disappearing and you're just floating is incredibly liberating. It's really, really neat. But I have no fear of death because I know that I've already left my body. You don't need your body. You can go anywhere you want. So death doesn't scare me at all.
And have you been doing any work? Are you connecting with the Ponte? What are you doing in your recent astral travels? Or are you just exploring and having fun?
I've been exploring and having fun for the most part. I'm still trying to be consciously aware the next time when I'm astral traveling to get over to the Sandia Mountain, to get over to the base. So I'm still working on it. So it's a work in progress. It's not always easy to control what you're doing when you get into those out of body states. But I've met other people in the astral world. Some are star nations, and others are human. I mean, there's one woman I met immediately when I left, and she said that she was from south of Vietnam. So that was pretty neat. So you can meet all kinds of different people in the astral world.
Who are some of the Star Nations people you've been meeting? And do you meet them just are you on a a ship, or are you like just in a sphere of light? Like who are you meeting, and where are you meeting them at?
Usually it's usually it's in a lucid dream state, and it'll be in my bedroom. So I'll hear them. Sometimes it's not astral. Sometimes it's just like lucid dream state. I would say most of the time, the visitations that I have are more in the lucid dream state, or it's not necessarily lucid dream state. It's a state between asleep and awake, where I am not asleep but I'm not awake, and I will physically feel them. Somebody will be touching my arm, or they'll be talking telepathically to me and touching my arm at the same time. Or then sometimes I'm seeing them physically, so in a lucid dream state. So, but then there was another time where I actually saw them with my physical eyes. That was very different. So what happened with that one was that Jeff Demers had just recently released a book on the Umo, who are a human race in the Virgo Sagittarius area. They're very technically advanced, but they live a very simple life. And I went to sleep, and then I woke up and I was trying to go back to sleep, and then in this state I felt there was a presence in my room, but this time I felt like I had to open my eyes. I felt like there was somebody physically in my room. And so I physically pried my right eye open just enough, and I saw standing in my bedroom, in the corner of my room, was this man with a white long beard, white long hair, clothes that looked like a Jedi, and he was glowing emerald green, like a bright emerald green was filling the entire room with this light behind him. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm dreaming. This is some kind of crazy dream, because I was physically seeing him with my eyes, but I was like asleep. And so then I stretched myself more. I kind of try and wake myself up more enough, and then I was able to pry my eye open again, and he's still standing in my room. So, and I was getting the impression Umo was the impression I was getting, Umo. So I think the Umo came and visited me.
Wow. Yeah, I just looked up Umo, UMMO, and they do look human. The one image that's showing up, the dude is Caucasian. He's got like a big head though. He's like a human with a big, larger cranium. Well, we are getting to the end of the show, Mr. Kevin. I'm wondering if you have any final words that you would like to. And dare I even ask, but I would love for you to come back on visually so people can see you while you give us what you would like to share with our audience from your heart to theirs.
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say, don't be fearful of what's happening right now on the planet. Everything is happening for a reason. There's a great awakening that's going on this planet, and there's lots of changes that are happening. And it's still an exciting time to be living, to witness everything that's going on this planet. So let's let things be and let things happen as they are happening right now. There's no point in getting all worried and flustered of where the planet is going. So everything is kind of happening for a purpose. But I strongly suggest people who want to reach out to the Pontee, who want to become friends with them, learn about them, follow them on Twitter. That's the best place to follow them. Go to their website. There's all the history, all the Twitter history from the last 5 years. All 80,000 tweets are in that history, and you can learn so much about them, about their personalities, who they are, what they're teaching, and become friends with them. That's how I became friends with them. They're people just like us. They're no different. They just sure they're 4 million years more advanced than we are, but
but who isn't? Like we really are the kids.
But also check out my music, on pyramidsonmars.com. My new album, The Cosmic Angels, that's hitting hitting May 31st, but we have a pre-release order right now. You could order the CD for 20% off. That deal is still only good for a few more weeks until the release date. So, but check it out. You can listen to the music on my website at pyramidsonmars.com. So please check that out.
Nice. And I'll drop that link. It is down below, but I will drop it into here as well. So thank you so much, Kevin. I'm going to toss the mic over to Miss Linda so she can start our gratitudes.
As always, great discussions on the side. Thank you, everyone. Continue them in our Facebook group. Be sure to check the links below and check out Kevin's music. I've really enjoyed his past performances, so check it out if you haven't, if you're not familiar. And also all of the Twitter links for the Pontee if you want to learn more. And be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe so that we can actually increase the people seeing this, so that we can shift the planet's vibration one person at a time. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Kevin. Love that you guys are on this show. You had so much. Thank you, Kat, for always being so instrumental in seeing that this vision of yours is fulfilled. It's a wonderful, safe place that I wish I'd had a long time ago. And you are helping to create that for everyone who is part of our Facebook group and part of this channel. So thank you.
You are so welcome. Yeah, that's what we talked about before we started the show, is how this is a safe space, and even if we don't have to agree with each other in order to get along. We don't have to believe all the same things in order to be friends. We are evolving past that. So with that, I will tell you that next week our guest is Dana Dunbar, and she is a co-author of Awake, The Legacy of Akara, and I had lunch with her yesterday. We hung out. I'm hanging out with her co-author in Boulder, so she came down and we went and had lunch and took some photos. I'll be sharing those later this week. But what a blast, what a lovely human being, and she has this amazing book that has so many rave reviews, Awake, The Legacy of Akara, and I'll be sharing that in our Facebook group. And it's all birthed from her own ET encounter with her, Kaya, or Kaya. That's Kaya. It was her like ET aspect that is, from the future coming back and reaching out to her. So that experience really was the cornerstone of this book coming into creation. So make sure to check us out on our Facebook group so you can be part of that conversation. And with that, I'm going to play a little more of Kevin's music as we say goodbye. And thank you. We're glad that you've been here with us today. And can you guys hear that music okay?
No.
Was that a yes or a no?
That's a no.
No.
Oh.
Can't hear it. No.
All right. Well, then, it's just been an awkward tech day. Let's do it one more time. I think computer share my music.
There we go.
All right. Awesome. With that, thank you so much for being here with us. We love you. We appreciate you. Please be kind to yourself. Be kinder to others. And we will see you next week. Blessings, everybody. Bye.
Bye.